Hey guys, Ramblin Bob here again with another update with the E2000LFP this time. Okay, so we just did the E1500 and that has been a good monster, good system for the last couple months and it's still going strong. But now we're going to do a recap on the E2000LFP. Now I have put this to the ultimate test. I don't think there's anybody who's put more wear and tear on this machine. And I've done it on the internet now for more than a year. So I put my system out there for the entire globe to see, whoever wants to watch. And I'll tell you kind of how I feel after having more than a year of experience with this system. I think I know everything there is to know about this system, other than maybe building one myself from scratch. Let's see, what I do like on the system is the capacity is a little bit bigger than the E1500LFP. So those of you who need just a little bit more capacity, I wish you could put more batteries to these things. I wish it was endless amount of batteries, because then you could buy a new battery like every year and add it to the system. I think that would be awesome as a modular system. Some systems are like that, but it comes down to a resistance thing, where if you have too many connections, the resistance of the energy flow is too much and it starts heat and fires and all kinds of problems. So I understand why they limited it. It's like when you put multiple car batteries together, you can only put so many because of that resistance problem. It's not built and made, you know, to do that. Let's see, so after the last year, this has been running 24/7 365 for more than a year. And I have it hooked to, this is two 400 watt REC solar panels. They're gorgeous panels. I recommend those highly. And then this is another two of them. So I have four. That's 1600 watts of solar panel. It is about 9:30 in the morning. So obviously that's a ton more than what this thing could take in. It's 800 aside, and this is limited at 600 and 600. However, in my situation, I'm doing what's called over paneling, and over paneling is where you actually buy more panels than what you can really use. And the reason for that is my neighbor has these darn big trees that you know, comes in on an angle there, and then it kind of it breaks up the, you know, that solar sunshine. You know, that's something that you never really you know, thought about until obviously you get solar power, and then you're like, oh darn, that tree's in the way, and that tree, and that house, and that garage, and you have all these obstacles now in your backyard. So what I did is I put them in parallel. Now that limits me to about 550-ish watts per 800. No matter if it can produce more than that, it kind of holds it back. You can go over the amps, that's not a problem, but you cannot go over the voltage. And if I put these two together, that would be approximately 80 to 85 volts for both panels in series. But the problem with that is anything over 80 volts, I've noticed sometimes these systems have trouble with, and I don't know if that is a maybe they kind of over rated the MPPT controller. That's only what I've seen. I don't know the real answer to that. But every time that well, if you guys remember I had to update the MPPT controller, so maybe the new ones are fine, but the older ones, if you have version 1 still, I wouldn't recommend going up to 80, because it was like shutting down for safety or something inside. So I swapped out the MPPT controllers, and then that allowed me to do the two solar panels that they had sent me for the review in series without any hiccups or any problems. I like to keep the voltage down for two reasons. Number one, if it's under 48 volts, it's much safer for you and your body, because over 48 volts can go through your skin and directly to your heart. Now that doesn't sound, you know, like, oh, that's going to happen to me, but there has been cases where the voltage can actually, you know, go through the skin and, you know, end up hurting people. So we don't want to do that until you're really familiar with what you're doing with solar. Don't jump ahead. This is a dangerous game, electricity. There's been many injuries and many problems and fires and all kinds of stuff with solar, and you know, electricity in general. So don't jump ahead. You take your time, go slow, learn what the safety factors are of what you and your system, you know, need and want, and then go from there. Kind of, I like the little what do they call it? The movie What About Bob? You know, baby steps. Take baby steps and learn as you go, and that way you don't make a very costly mistake, and you know, nobody would want that. Okay, so like I said, I'm limited at how much I can bring in, because these can only bring in up to 15 amps. Now, if I have 2 panels in series, that means I can bring in 20 amps, right? Well, I can't because remember it's limited at 15. So I'm getting approximately, was it like 39 volts times 15 amps ish, right? So that way you're not allowed to get all the way up to that 600 per side. It kind of limits you. Now if you run them in series, you could obviously go all the way up to 600 because an 800 watt array should easily produce 600 watts. Now the problem is the way my configuration is, and yours might be different, but the way mine is because I have all those obstacles with the trees and the branches and everything next door. I wish they would cut them down. I even offered to cut them down for free, so maybe they'll take me up on that. I have the tools and the know-how. I can drop them trees and no problem, safe and sound. The situation that I have, I had to run them in parallel because as the day goes on, you'll see this, right? You'll see these big branches that come along, and like if this system was one solar panel and this system was another solar panel, and they were in series, if I go like this and cover this one, that destroys the power coming out of this one as well, because this one kind of, you know, drags this power down. But if they're in parallel, they work like this, right? Big strong and big strong, and that way you have 2 individual 10 amps coming out at 40 volts about. You know, at the same time, and that way, you know, if this one's not producing, this one will, and then when they both produce, they produce up to that, you know, that 20 amps if you could take in that much. So that's the situation I'm in, and you'll see this continue to rise. The most that I usually get is about, I want to say about 1,060-ish, somewhere in there. Just under 1,100. Now it's still February, so that, you know, they're not aimed perfect. We have them hanging on the fence, so that's a temporary install, so I can, you know, test these machines here. I don't like permanent installs for solar, because then you run into permits and headaches and all kinds of problems like that. But if it's a temporary install, so you'll watch this in real time as I yap here, or ramble, you'll see this go up very, very slowly as that sun starts to peak in the sky. As you can see, it's bouncing from 961 to 960, which is a good power. So you take this and you divide it by 2, but I don't think that's fair because one of them still is, as the sun comes around the house, of course, it's not, I wish I had a picture of it. One panel is not fully exposed to the sun yet. So I have 4 panels like this, like this, like this. Well, they're actually like this. So 1, 2, 3, 4, right along the fence. If you go back to that video that I made, you can see that. And the edge of one panel is probably not exposed yet to the sun. So once that gets exposed, as it moves more across that panel, this number will continue to go up. And the most I've seen, I think, was just under 1,100 watts. It's going to be like 1060 or 1070, something like that. But that's a good amount of power to bring into this. Now, that's not enough power to fill this in a solar day, though. But, you know, something to remember. But if you were doing them, you know, like panels like that in series, then you would be able to bring in the 1,200 watts. Now, 1,200 watts times 5 hours of solar is about, let's see, that's 5, 6, that's about 6,200. Now, that's still not enough. But what you can do is, remember, you can put another 400 watt array or solar panel into each battery. So that puts this at 1,200 watts, 600 per side. And then you can put 400 and 400. Now that's 2,000 watts. Now on paper, that you should be able to fill this system within about 4 to 5 hours. Now that's awesome because that becomes a solar day. A solar day you usually get only about 5 hours, depending on where you live, of course. I'm in the Midwest, so it all depends on, oh, it's actually, see, it's dropping and going up at the same time here, up and down. That's solar for you guys, up and down, up and down. I wish that you could have that perfect, you know, like the space station, right? They have perfect solar, you know, sun, right? So unless we live in space, we don't have that perfect sun unless they go around the Earth and that whole thing. But I wish that we could have that solid, you know, 2,000 watts coming in 24 hours a day. Like if they invent moon panels, guys, I brought this up to Bluetti. Invent some moon panels. You know, the sun bounces off the moon, right? So if you made a panel that's really, really super duper sensitive, it could pick up that small amount of light bouncing off the moon and coming down to the earth, and, you know, charging. Even if it's a little, I'll take it. I'll take some moon panels. Well, I'll tell you what. And then they would just obviously be even stronger during the daytime. But super sensitive solar panels, I wonder if that's even a possibility. Well, maybe a possibility to start a fire. Who knows? I'm not an engineer. I'm just an idea guy. I do like that amount of power that you could bring in, because like I said, that allows this to be charged in what's known as a solar day within that 5-hour period. I don't use, as you see, at 94 and it's 100 already. Like I'm already maxed out already, and the system's at 9:30 in the morning. This one is only using approximately, well, we have the fridge on this one, and then we have the security system on this one. I believe it's, no, I think that's on this one. Yeah, security system's on this one. Boy, it's hard to keep this stuff straight here. So we only use, as you can see, about 85 watts while it's on what's known as standby, just background stuff. Like this is the lights, I believe, that we're using for filming, the GoPro. This one's actually burning the extra power. Like here, I'll show you. If I unplug this one, this is a 600 watt heater. So if I turn this on max, you can actually see what we're getting in for solar in real time. So you'll see that solar, it will creep up as we're bringing out, you know, 1,500 watts for, well, 1,600 watts. Holy crap, Zilla. That's a big heater there. And you'll see that went up to about 378.4. So it's using it, you know, it's pulling it as we use it. So that means that the heater is only costing me approximately 1,100 watts rather than the 1,500 watts that the heater is. So you can see that that's filling up very nice. So that's a nice way, guys. If you have your system and it's almost maxed out, that's a great way to add. One of the most expensive things in solar is heat. Heat is the hardest thing to produce because it takes so much energy. So if you can use, now see, that'll top off real good again. This 1,000 watts, once this gets to 100%, we don't need this much power anymore, see? So that's wasted. So we put it on a heater or something like that. And then, let's see, if I put this down like that, and then I put it over to, oh, about 65. I put it about 65 degrees. It's radiated heat, so that's this energy. See, it's still filling, you know, 300 watts more almost of what we're getting in. So this will easily top out today by, boy, 10, 11 o'clock. And then both of these systems is full. And then together, this is like 15,000 watts of power. It's plenty. Now back to the parts of it, of what I like and what I don't like. The cables drive me crazy, guys. I'll be 100% honest with that. I love the new cables of the E2000LFP because they're so, as you can see, they're so streamlined. And when you look at these ones, you can see, guys, you see how they stick out. What a mess. And of course, they're stiff. They don't bend very good. Hopefully you can see that, but it is a mess, guys. Hold on, let me get a light so you can see that in there. Let me see. Oh, I don't have a light, guys. I don't have a light. Oh, I don't have a light. Okay, it's in the other room. I don't know if you can see that or not, but that's well, maybe real close. You see, they stick out all the way like this. See, they wrap around this table legs kind of thing. They're a pain in the butt. I only wish that if Pecron could come out with the 90-degree angle cables like those for the E2000LFP, that would be monster. Holy crapzilla, that would be awesome. You know what, I'm going to talk to them about that and see if we can get some 90-degree angles. It can't be that hard, right? I mean, you just design a new cable and then you manufacture them. If you already have the design over there, you just change the design for the ports and then you put it on this system. And I think people would very much appreciate new cables like that. Even if they had to pay for them, I think that would be a major upgrade for a system that's kind of done already. I don't think that this is going to do any more updates. You know, we went through all the bugs that it had when it first came out, and you know, the 100-watt USB-C that was only 65, and the MPPT controllers couldn't hold the full 80 volts, and you know, or above 80 volts. So, oh, you see here, now it's maxed out. See that? So now we're only literally bringing in 1 watt of solar, and we're burning 85 watts on the system. So it's literally topped out full. I can't put no more power in there. So that's 7.5 kilowatts sitting there. And what a waste, guys, what a waste. So here's what I like to do. Okay, so knowing that we have about 400 plus watts coming in, like I said, heat is the most expensive thing, guys. Heat is cooking, heat is, you know, heating your house. That is the hardest thing for solar because it takes so much energy. So this is like a little 400 watt heater here. And what I do is I'll put this on because why not, right? It's free. So anytime that you can get free energy from, you know, the uncle's son, if you you want to call it that, or the godsons or sun gods or whoever you it is, but see, it's all free coming in. So I'm going to burn about 550, and you can see that this is inching back up. See, 400. I think I'm getting about 475 on this one. Nope, 430. Okay. But see, now that this heater, this 400 watt heater, is only costing me 100 watts of power from the system. Now, if you put a smaller one, you know, then you can use that extra power. But I don't like power to go to waste, guys. It's not how much power you can generate. It's how much, or how intelligently, if you will, or sparingly you use your power on solar. I think that's the most important thing with solar is, you know, you don't just go like willy-nilly and start plugging in the whole house, because, boy, that'll, you know, even though this is 15,000 watt hours right here, that'll suck that up in no time if you put a couple thousand watt heaters on there, and 3 or 4 hours later, you're done. Your power is gone. So this one's still bringing in 960 watts almost. And then, like I said, this heater is almost free. It's costing me about 100. Now, remember, I was using about 80 of that, so let's figure that's 400. So that's costing me 50. This is costing me 50 watts of power on my system to run a 400 watt heater. Now, that's cool, guys. That's cool. And like I said, it's free. So take advantage of it when you can. If your system is like this and it just happens to be over paneled to where you can have more coming in than what you need. Now, back to this. Love over paneling. Don't forget, you can do the amps higher than what it is. It has what's known as kind of like a governor. You know, like a if you go to a go-kart track, they have a governor, so you can't go faster than what they want you to go. You know, it's a speed governor. Well, this is like an amp governor that's in there, and what it does is if you're bringing in 20 amps, it'll say, well, hold on, that's too much. It'll scale it down to 15 and cap it there, and that way you don't have overpowering of the battery cells or anything like that. So the only problem that you're going to come into is if you over voltage. If you over voltage it, you could burn out either the battery cells, the system, the boards, or the MPPT controller. You could, or the BMS. You could literally wreak havoc inside a system if you over voltage. So always remember that. Never over volt a system. Never ever do that, because unless it's a really big system and it has like safety, you know, things in there where it's like a governor for the voltage. But these systems don't have that, guys. I can easily, like if I put in 150 volts here, that will literally destroy the system. I had one system back in the days, a small system, where I plugged it in and I forgot that the voltage could only go up to about 30 volts, and I put a 48 volt solar panel into it, and literally in 1 to 3 seconds, it was so fast, I turned around and boom, it was just you had that smell of oh, that's not good. So I burnt out the entire system, so I had to have that replaced, and that was a horrible thing. So I don't want to have you guys you know, see you do that with your system. If you're going to use these two, which I highly recommend, guys, they're awesome. You got 1200 watts of power coming in if you can max them. Do not use this one. I don't recommend that at all. I wish this system had the 100 watt USB input, you know, where you can, the power delivery port, and that way you can just avoid this altogether, because I'm not a fan of barrels. This is a very old technology, guys. I know it's still around. It's not going to go anywhere anytime soon. It's on every single power station I have here, except I think the Bluetti, the newest Bluetti doesn't have it. The newest lineup of those, but every other system has the barrels. The 100 watts been coming out very, very, very good, very strong. I'm still getting 100 watts out, and I use that to either power dump energy into smaller systems, or I use that for charging phones. Works really good on GoPros. Works really good on like, you know, one thing with the barrel, you could put that to like RC cars or something like that. But this one has this. This is awesome, guys. This is a great addition to that. I wish that had this now. Now, you're going to obviously find different, you know, likes and dislikes of both systems, you know, and obviously the perfect world is have both. But, you know, that's not for everybody's opportunity, because, you know, these things are expensive when a full set. This is like $4,500 set. back in the days, and then this is about $3,500 set, and we paid for both of these sets, guys. There's a lot of money, but we are hooked on solar so much. It's like being a kid again. Like literally, it's like, you know, walking in a candy store and you're like, oh, I want that, and I want that, and I want that, and I want an Oukitel, I want Bluetti, I want that. I mean, holy crapzilla. So if you're going to use these two guys, I don't recommend using this one. We don't use this at all, but I wish this had that USB-C input. Now the E2000LFP that's coming out, which I'll have hopefully by the end of the month or the beginning of the next month, it's on the way to the warehouse. And then I can test that one too. That actually has a power delivery port that's input and output of 100 watts. So that is awesome. I only have 2 systems out of all these. Guys, I have 16 power stations here, and I only have 2 systems that have that input-output thing. If you're not familiar with what that is and what that looks like, on your, this is an old Energizer here. This is a PPS 320, and it is dusty because I don't use it that much, guys. I have so many of these now. If you look close, you'll see this little input here. This is an input, and it says PD delivery 100 watts. But notice there's an output right next to it. So they actually have one with a barrel input or that. That is a very, very good, I think that's a highly overlooked feature on power stations. If you can get one with this, I think this is a heck of a backup plan, because imagine if you were, I think I mentioned this on this video too for the folks that were watching this one. Imagine if you were charging this. Now this one obviously has 2, so you have a much better chance of a backup plan. But say for just, you know, shizzles and gizzles here, say both of these, they just burnt out, right? And then now you have no way to get energy in there, you know, and obviously you have this one too. So I mean, you have a lot of backup plans on this one, but let's just say for argument's sake, these 2 burnt out and this one, you know, you don't have. And then you could power dump 100 watts into the system. Now, obviously, that would take about 80 to 90 hours to fill the system. However, you have a backup planning for emergencies. And I think that's the most important thing is when you deal with anything solar or anything electricity or anything electronic, you want to have a backup plan, because like when I do any kind of a sound for friends at events, if I don't have extra speakers there and you pop one, well, you're in trouble, right? Then you don't have speakers or microphones or something like that. So I look at solar the same way I look at sound, is always have a backup plan just in case. And hopefully, you know, what's the old saying? You plan for the worst, but you hope for the best. I think that's the most optimistic way to look at energy, electronics, and solar power and stuff like that, is just in case you want to have a backup plan. I love the batteries. They've been solid as a rock. I do cycle them, the same as what I said in the other video, guys. I do put this one on the bottom and that one on the top, and then I switch the cables. So this will go into the first one and then into the second one, and then you swap them, and then that'll go into the second one and then the first one. And the reason I do that is it's like tires on your car, so you can cycle them, and that way they'll burn out evenly, if you will, or wear down evenly. This system is very good for balancing all the power. This one is not so good, because if, like, say you were at 1200 watts in here and then 400 on each battery, so 2000 watts in, the power meter percentage and the watts up here do not recognize the power going in through the back door, if you will, of the batteries, because it wasn't designed for that, guys. It just wasn't. These were designed to be standalone systems. So it understands when it's topped off, so you don't have to worry about it being overcharged or anything. You plug it in there, it turns on. Like I have this one going somewhere back here. See this one? This is 360 watts coming in here, plus the 300 that's up there. And the neat thing about that is this system can understand that. Now that's one huge upgrade from this system to this one. How it works out is, say if I were to charge 800 watts through this system right now with nothing coming in the top, this meter would say it's, you know, getting no energy, but this meter would keep going up. So this understands, because it checks and balances it much better than this one did. The only way that I found out how to balance this one perfectly is when you get to 100%, and say you were doing that same thing, 400 watts in this one and 400 watts in this one, after a while, you'll see this thing stop. Well, you won't see any energy. You'll just see that there's no energy like going into the system, right? And this will be stuck at the same number. And then what it'll do is it'll inch up very slowly, 1% until it's at 100, and then the meter catches up with the power that you put in. So that's not a good thing to do with this system, guys, is to charge only through the batteries. And of course, that I don't know why you'd want to do that, but just in case, you know, if you didn't have these two and they burnt out, whatever, you know, if you do that, you have to wait for the system to catch up to the batteries. When you have something going in the top and the batteries, it balances much better because then you can watch it, and then you'll see this drop all the way to 0, right? And then this will be at like, you know, 70, 80, 90%, whatever it lands on, you know, depending on the ratio of what's full and what's not. Then you'll see this go down to nothing, and then you'll see this creep very slowly, 1 to 3 minute intervals. It goes up about 1%, and then it tops off, and then the system is 100% full according to the meter. It was already full, but now the meter fully understands that, and that's a huge thing, guys, as far as the difference between this system and this system. I do use from time to time, guys, that technique of putting a dryer sheet or something here, and that way it doesn't suck in. As you can see, I don't know if you can see that little tiny dust right there. So if you're working in an area that's you know, a little dusty, don't do metal shavings, guys. That's a huge no-no for electronics. But you know, say you're working somewhere around like wood or cleaning or something like that, I'd recommend, you know, just plopping one there for a little while. You know, always keep an eye on your heat. It's very simple to do, and that way you can keep that dust out of there. So, you know, you can see the difference of this system here. I'll go in the inputs, and you can see that's at, well, I think it was at 90. Let me see here. Where's the cable here? Yeah, see, so about 90, I think 90, 91 is the most. I can't keep it on there. And that's the cable, of course. See, 79. Very, very decent. Remember, that's bringing in almost 1,000 watts of power, guys, and putting out almost 700 more. So, you know, you're putting out 1,600 watts of power on this system, and the system, look, I mean, it's, you know, it's 80, and on the pins itself, let's see, 80. I saw a 90 somewhere. There, see, 92, and I think that's more on the wires. The wires get hot, and like I said, since it's not over 1,000 watts yet, that means that one of the panels out of the 4 is not fully exposed to the sun. But I mean, look at how simple it is, guys. Look at 84, 84, 83. Oh, there's 100. So obviously, right there in the center is where the MPPT controller is. Now this one is warmer than this one, and that means that this one probably goes to that side. This one is the set that's full. Let's see. Yep, so this is the on the fence that's far, and that gets the sun first, and then this one is the secondary one. See, it says near. I have them labeled here. I don't know if you can see that, but that says near. So this one is the cooler one because it's not fully exposed to the sun yet, and this one is. This one's 100%, and you could test that by, let's see, if you put it right on the dot, see 86 on the string there, and you go to that string, see it's only 84. So this one's obviously heating up more than this one is, and over time they'll both get equal. It all depends on where the sun is, of course. I do like these covers, guys. I think that was a huge mistake for Pecron to take off these little flappy things. I absolutely love these because as you know, with dust, it's everywhere, and you can only keep up with dust, but you cannot fight it. There's no way to get rid of dust permanently that I've ever found unless you live in a vacuum. And I don't think many people would enjoy that. But as you can see, it gets dusty. We dust it off every day or so, but you know, dust is the inevitable. But I like these covers, and every single port on this system, every one is covered with a little flappy thing. See that? I think that is absolutely phenomenal. I don't know, and I don't like that Pecron went away from that. I think that was a bad move for them. I hope on the new systems, which I don't think they will have those flaps back. They kept some of them, right? They kept the inputs covered, but not the outputs. I think that's a big mistake, guys, because if you look very close into these, you can literally see dust. You know, it gets attracted by static electricity, and it just kind of, you know, goes in there, and you know what I mean. So it just stays on there, and then you have to kind of blow them out. What works really good, guys, if you have a vacuum, you know, with that little brushy thing on the end of it, and you just kind of go like that, and what that does is it kind of knocks out the dust, and then it sucks it into the vacuum rather than pushing it into the system, and that helps, especially with the fans. That helps a lot on these systems, guys, to keep them running top notch. You know, this is like a car now. You want to keep this thing going. And even more important than a car, this is running your stuff in your house. Like, this is running a refrigerator, and if that were to break down, all the food would spoil. And if I don't catch that in time, boy, that would be an expensive loss there. Oh, it's getting hot in here now because I got 2 heaters going. But see, still 100%. And then remember, I'm burning out or bringing in about 300, but on this one, I'm also bringing in, see, 362. So if you add those together, I'm literally using 100% free this 400 watt heater and my refrigerator on this one, because I'm already at the 100%. So you might as well use it so you don't lose it. That's the worst with solar, is you watch your energy get wasted, especially when you look outside and the sun is gorgeous and beautiful. Man, what a waste. But I wish that they would put these flaps back on there. Pecron, I think that was a huge mistake. I'd like to see you go back to these on your newer models. I think just for safety, as far as the keeping the ports good and clean and everything, because the more dust you got on there, this is a big thing that people don't realize. The more dust you have on there, if you don't clean that up, if you start jamming cords in there all the time, what happens to all that dust? You're pushing it inside the port, and it's going inside the system. And if it stays on top of the port, then the connections can't be made. It's a big thing that people don't think about, is something as simple as dust on these little, if you guys remember, you remember the old Nintendo, you know, the video games, and people used to go and blow on the little carts and put them in there. The reason for that is that those contacts would oxidize, and they would get all dirty and kind of scummy, and then the connection wasn't made properly, and that's why it would flash and things like that. Well, that's the same as what happens with all electronics, guys. All connections can get dirty and bad, but like I said, just a vacuum and just go like this, you know, real quick. Obviously do it when the system's off. I suppose you could do it when it's on. I don't think it would hurt anything, but I wish that these had these covers. I really do. I think that was a huge mistake for Bluetti to do that. I'm sorry, Pecron to do that. I think that was a huge mistake. This one has the 2 fuses on the side of the system. I've never blown one yet. I don't even know how really to take them out, other than you pop them out and they're blade fuses. But I've never had to use them yet, and I never had to do that one yet either. So, and this has been going for more than a year, guys. So I mean, that shows the longevity of this machine so far, at least for us. And remember, I put this out there for the world to see. There's no trickery when you have like 50 videos of your system running for a year. That's a lot of information that people can utilize and see if this system is right for you, if that one's right for you, or if that one's right for you. You know, whatever system works for you. That's the whole game, guys. Doesn't matter which one you buy. It's that you're happy with the system that you bought, and it serves its purpose. You know, a car that doesn't drive is not much of a car, right? As far as this, no problems. It's always worked. I was able to update that board to get the 100 watt. This whole board comes out, and I was able to do that. It was a while ago. The MPPT controllers were updated to the new version. If you buy this now, of course, you get all this new stuff. You don't get any of the headaches that we had to go through with the MPPT controllers or the 65 watt output, and all that other headache stuff. So that's good, and that's what these videos are for, guys. I know I ramble a lot, but I want to make sure that you guys are getting a better system than we did when we started. That's the whole point of this whole channel, is for everyone to come together and figure out what the little quirks are, or what the little problems are, or headaches, or mistakes that they made, and see if we can better this equipment, and we can all work together as a team to better this for the next consumer. I think that's what's missing nowadays, is everyone will leave a review, whether it's positive or negative. You find something wrong with any system, and then if you holler and complain about it enough, right, then the companies will catch on and say, we have to update this, otherwise people are going to pull away from our products, and you don't want that. Concept of a business is to keep people wanting to come back more and more for your products and updates and patches, or whatever you're releasing. But don't like the cables. I never did. They do work, of course. I've had no problems. They don't heat up, guys, as you can see. I'll put the cable here. Let me see if I can get it right there. See, 67 degrees. So the cables are ice cold. I mean, they're literally colder than the room, and that's because they're on the floor. I think this room is about 70 degrees. Well, it's probably 72 now with this darn heaters on, but very good. The fans, this is about as loud as the fan will get. So if you can hear that, that's partially this one and partially this one, but mostly this one. This one has a bigger set of fans than this one does. So you know, you get a little bit more airflows, and a little bit more airflow makes a little bit more sound. This one I think is a better regulated system as far as the temperature. This works fine, as you can see. I mean, nothing's hot. Here, if we go on the exhaust over here, see, we're 94 on the exhaust, and then this one over here is going to be, let's see here. See, this is actually 101. So this one is actually heating up more than this one. So the fans do its job. 100 degrees is fine for electronics, but this one has bigger fans, so you have more airflow, and I think that helps. Notice that these are this big. See that? And these, on this side, these vents are this big. So that's actually, see, that's about an inch bigger than this one. So you get, you know, the more vent, the more air. But remember, the bigger the vents are, the more, you know, garbage and dust and, you know, crapzilla can go in there and mess with your electronics. So, you know, feel free to clean these out, you know, often. And use a vacuum, because if you go like this, like I just did, and there's a lot there, you're literally, you know, go like that, and then you're making that dust go inside the system, right? Because it's getting sucked in here. So that's something to always think about too, is if you clean them like this, you're actually letting this go in the system. So try to always clean it with a small vacuum. If you have a little portable one, or if you just use a big one with that little, it's like a little brush thing, you can just kind of go like that over all the ports. But I do wish that they put the covers back. I really like the covers. Some people hate these covers. I love them. And also with the E2000LFP that's coming too, that has a light. Now that is the first system for Pecron that actually has a light. They're listening. I think you're listening. I think I'm complaining enough as far as what I want to see on the newer features of machines. And these videos are getting enough traction now to where I think they're really starting to listen. And that's the best thing for a company to do, is to listen to your consumers. If they have a question, a problem, if they want to do something, update a system, boy, you better listen to them, because if you don't, you won't have customers. That's the whole concept of business, is to have customers, right? A business with no customers is basically an empty building. So you have to listen to your customers and your consumer base. That is the first system that will actually have a light. It's on the side here, which I think is a very, very powerful thing, because, you know, think of it. If you're changing a car tire, you're walking down a path, you're going fishing, emergency, right? You turn it on, and then you light up the whole room, and then you can situate yourself and get all your stuff, you know, ready for the situation that you're about to endure. Hopefully none, but you never know. You know, plan for the worst and hope for the best. But yeah, everything else has been fine. We bring out an average of about 100 watts on this system and 100 watts on this system. Obviously, we're bringing out 600 and 500 right now, almost 7 and 5, because we have 2 heaters going, because like I said, I'm getting the free energy. I don't want it to go to waste. But yeah, everything's been working fine, guys. Other than that darn power meter, I just wish that if this system could be updated to where this one has that auto check thing, and I think that's in the circuitry and everything, the boards and everything, this would be a monster system, and I would never have to update to this one. The apps I don't use on that one because of the extra energy loss, and I figure, you know, why waste the power? All the USBs work good. I never have to go into the hidden menu anymore, so that's been taken care of. This system, obviously, like I said, it runs extremely cold. I mean, look at this, 92 degrees, and that's in the center where the MPPT controllers are. So you can see that one's 98 on this one. That's the far one, and that's 88. So you're literally 10 degrees difference because of that difference, where this one is not quite in the sun. It's slowly getting there, but as you can see, the sun is getting a little bit cloudy outside. Finally, this week has been great for solar, and I hope you guys are getting the most out of your solar setups. The key to energy independence is, you know, you start small and understand what you're doing, and then, you know, you grow. You don't want to start out with some, like my favorite system in the world right now is the AC500 with all the batteries. I think that's a monster system, but I don't need that much power, guys. It's a 5,000 watt inverter with a 10,000 watt surge. I don't use that much power, but boy, if I could put, you know, 6 batteries like that system can on either one of these, that would be the bee's knees and the cat's meow right there. I would totally just keep these systems. But the only thing that's drawing me towards the E3600 LFP is the higher power if you need it, and the obvious 4 battery packs plus the battery pack that's in the unit too. So that's 15,000 kilowatts. That's all the power that I have here in these 6 batteries, right, in one system that will have 4 batteries and 1 main system. So you could run that all together, and then you could put all this stuff on one outlet. And I hope they keep a lot of outlets here. And I think they have a 120 at 30 amps too, like I think that bigger one for the RV kind of hookup. Let's hope that that's going to be on there, because you remember the system's in prototype right now, so it's not out yet, you know what I mean? So they could change anything last minute. Chances are they probably won't, but who knows? That little tiny E300 LFP, that's going to have a 12 barrel like this one, a 12 volt barrel, and a 24. I think that's phenomenal for such a small system. So like say the top one would be 12 volt, the bottom one is 24 volt. I think that's a really good thing, because some people need that for like fridges. You know, if you get a portable fridge or freezer or something like that, the 24 volt runs more efficiently than the 12. The 12 gets very hot. That's a secret of voltage too, guys. The higher the voltage, the less it has to, you know, for the like boy, it's hard to explain. For the cable, you know, 12 volt needs a very fat cable. If you look at 12 volt battery on your car, you got that big 2 or 4 arc gauge cable, that big fat cable. You can barely bend it. It looks like the batteries over here, you know, the cables on these systems. But if you go up to a higher voltage, right, like here, look at this is running 120 volts. You see how skinny that is? Look at how skinny that is, guys. So higher voltage, there's less resistance on the transference of that voltage to the wire, and that's neat, because then you don't have to spend so much in copper. There's an old saying in copper when you buy power cables, guys, and don't get cheap on your power cables. Trust me, that's a warning. Do not get cheap. Don't get, you know, 14 gauge and 18 gauge. Don't get that cheap stuff, guys, because you will have fires, you will have problems, you will have meltdowns. You will literally see the wire melt in front of your eyes if you put enough amps through it. So the old saying in the copper world is, you know, you buy once, you cry once. Spend the extra money, get decent cables, and then, you know, go from there. And, you know, that way, if you got a good cable, it lasts a very long thing. UV rated is also a big thing, guys. If you're going to leave it out in the sun, you know, your cables they're in the sun, right? So if you leave your cables in the sun, you want to make sure it's UV rated, and that way, I think it's UL rated or UV rated. Basically, the UV rays of the sun will mess with that cable. Notice how these are different colors. So this one was used in the house, and this one was used outside, and you can see the difference in colors there. As you know, some cables are not, you know, good for outside. Like this is probably an indoor cable, or it's been out there for years, so you can see it. And then if you ever see this, you know, you ever see this coily look to a cable, guys? Here's a secret inside. So this means it was very mistreated cable as far as putting it in the cold. As you can see, the wraps, that's actually the wires inside, and then they put this burlap kind of thing. It's a string that they wrap around the cables to you know, keep them together, and then they put the plastic coating over the top. If you see this ever happen, that means that the plastic that they used for this stuff was very cheap, or you went down to a very cold environment and put a lot of amps through it, and it shrinks this stuff, kind of like that shrink tubing. That's why some cables end up looking like that Twizzler candy, and some don't. So this is a much better insulation. It looks like I thought it was peeling up there, but it's not. But yeah, some cables, guys, there's really a difference in cables. So when you buy cables, whether it's solar power, you know, feel free to grab them suckers and bend them around and feel how good they are, how strong and well they're made. Because remember, that's your house that's behind that cable. That's going to go into your house or your car, your RV, or your campsite or wherever, and you want to make sure that you get safe, good cables, especially with charging these systems too. Now this one comes with the bricks. Remember, if you want to do both, you have to buy that extra brick. That's a big headache, because it's 150 bucks for a second brick. You know, those charging bricks. I happened to buy one a long time ago, so I could charge this at about 1150 watts or so. Oh no, actually it's 1050 or so, because you know, you don't get the full 600, so I think you get like 1100 or so at max. and you know, you have to buy that. So that's something to think about too. There's really pluses and minuses to both systems, where this one you have to buy the extra brick, this one you can use the cord. But if you do charge with that one, make sure that you use the proper, you know, gauge cord that came with that, or something even bigger, because you could really start a fire with this stuff, guys. Other than that, like I said, you know, it's been running. Remember, this is a 24 volt system. This is a 48 volt system, depending on what you need. Some people like that higher voltage, you know, depending on what your use is, obviously, or your solar panels too. You know, that's like if you use a 48 volt solar panel and you put it to a 24 volt system, you lose in what's called conversion. So remember, that has to convert from a 48 volt signal, if you will, down to 24, so it has to convert it. And anytime you convert energy up or down, you lose energy. It takes money to make money, right? So when you go to the bank and you cash in a bunch of change, they take 4, 5, 6%, whatever it is. Think of that as solar. When you're going from voltage to voltage, that's different. You have to eat up some of that loss there. But now this is a 48 volt system, to where if I bring in a 48 volt panel system, it doesn't have to convert that much. It's going from let's see, it's coming in at 35 right here. See, right now it's coming at 35 and going into the battery, which is a 48, so it only has to step up a little bit. But if that was coming in at, like, say 90, and it has to go all the way down to like 24, you can see that you know, that loss would be more, obviously. Yeah, all the cables, all the ports, it's been on 24/7, 365. I'm very happy with both systems. If I were to choose again, guys, boy, that's a hard. I like this one. I've had it for more than a year, so I like the covers on it. But when it comes to the newer technology, I think this system worked out a lot of the bugs. With the app, and remember, you get the 12 volt at 30 amp output, so the no more brick charging, you get 1400 watts straight from the wall. This has also a smarter charging, where this one would kind of fill up, as you can see, it's bringing in as much as it can all the way to the top, and then it kind of tapers down at the last minute. Now this one has more of a safety in mind, where it's the first, I think it's like 5, 6, 7%. It doesn't bring in 100% off the wall. It brings it in like 500 or 600, and that's to soft charge the batteries. You know what I mean? It's like a cold car. You just want to get in and start stomping on the gas pedal and going on the freeway. That's bad for a car. That's also bad for batteries. If you start charging them, you know, when they're low, it's kind of like if I were to, you know, come over to your house and drag you out of bed and throw you on the freeway and say run. Boy, you would hate me for that, wouldn't you? You would really dislike that, because your body's like, oh, I just woke up, I'm tired. Well, that's how tired battery cells get too. They get exhausted, if you will. And then when it gets almost full to that 90%, you'll see that slow down. That'll never go past 500 or 600 watts as well, because when you're filling like a soda in the glass, remember that video I made a long time ago, and you're filling the soda so it doesn't overfill the glass, it slows down the charging, and that way, the same as your muscles, you're not overexerting the battery cells and burning them out prematurely, because that is a neat feature that's in this system, where this system doesn't seem to have that. So if I were to choose again, boy, that's a tough call. I like the 48 volt system over the 24, but I like these ports. I like the dual inputs. I think this is a huge miss for Pecron on this model. I wish they had these dual on that one. I really do, because man, you could bring in some power. 700 each, that'd be 1400 plus another 8. Holy crap, Zilla, guys, you'd be bringing in some power, man. Some 2200 watts of power, where this one can bring in 2000. But like I said, the meter has to catch back up, so it's a plus and minus. The ports, the dual inputs, the battery cables on that one is better. You know, maybe I can talk to Pecron, and hopefully I can get them to maybe re-release them. You know, even if, like, say they sold the cables for 50 bucks a piece. I know that's expensive, guys, but you know, there's a lot of copper in there, and copper's expensive. Would you guys be willing to upgrade your cables to the right angle cables of this system if Pecron would make them, if I can talk them into making them? I talked to the marketing director guy over there, and I talked to the higher ups at Pecron. It's not a very big company, so it's pretty easy to get to the top of that one. And my idea is that they really seem to, or our ideas as a team, they really seem to be catching on with Pecron, and I think that their market is going to grow substantially, not to mention their price. Their price right now, as far as the lithium iron phosphate, the LFP batteries, I think literally they're untouchable by any system. I mean, these you can get down to 40 to 50 cents per watt hour sometimes when the sale happens, and the other systems are still 50, 60, 70, sometimes 80%. Like I like Jackery products because they're very, very simplistic. But the problem with Jackery products is they're almost too simplistic. So I think that's a good stepping stone if someone wants to learn. I was going to buy Jackery when I first started, and I didn't. And I'm kind of glad I didn't now, because one of their biggest things was proprietary cables. I hate that idea, guys. I'm so, I call it the Apple technique. I really, really dislike, selling you a system and you have to buy our cables. Now, the nice thing with Pecron is they have proprietary cables. However, I can take this cable and I can put it over there, and I can take this cable and I can put it up here. See, it's the same cable on all their systems. It's the 5-pin aviation. It's like a MX16 or something. It's a weird name, but it's basically a 5-pin aviation cable, and you can use that on all their models. Even the new one, it looks like the same, the 5-pin on the E3600LFP and the E300. Now, even though they're proprietary cables, they're universal to all their systems, and that way, if you need a cable and you have multiple machines, you can use the cables on other machines. I think that is a big step up. If you're going to have what they have, proprietary cables, at least you can use them amongst all their systems. Now, what Apple did back in the days, I really dislike it. If you had Apple, I had Apple Touch, I had Apple, I never had the Apple phones, but all my friends and family had Apple. I'm an Android person. But I had touches for like MP3 players when they first came out, nanos and all that stuff. And the problem with them is they made so much money on the cables, because you had to buy a new charging cable, and then you had to buy this adapter, and then you had to buy this updated charger. Oh my God, I so hated that, because they were $20 to $25 a cable. And if you have 5 different kinds of touches, like say you have iPod Touch 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever. I mean, they went up to a bunch, right? You needed a different cable for almost every single one, and that was what I really disliked about that market style or advertising, whatever you call that. Horrible. I think that's horrible to do that to your consumers. To where Pecron has the proprietary, except that you can use all their cables on all their machines, other than the XT60. But you know what? Wait a minute, because the batteries have XT60 too, so you could literally use XT60 on the batteries, 24 and 48 volts too. So just this one doesn't have you can't see it. It's up here. The E600 LFP that's hiding up there. So yeah, even with that one, you can use on almost all their systems, and then the 5-pin you can use on all their systems. I think that's a plus. If you're going to go with proprietary cables, I think at least have the decency of what Pecron did, is use them all on the same system, and that way you don't have to go out and buy new cables. That's the worst, guys. You don't want to buy a car and then have to buy 50 things to get your car to run. I hated that. The older cars are better where you could take parts and put them on other machines. I understand why they do that. I know it's a money thing. But boy, a spark plug is almost universal, right? So you just you gap the spark plug and you put it in just about any car, unless that's a specialty car, of course. But they for the most part, they're universal. Same with oil for the most part. But the cables, I think, is a huge thing, and that was a huge thing of Apple's. I don't want to bash Apple too much, but that was a huge influx of their money as far as their revenue is just cables, So I do like that. This one tops out at about 27.6, I think. Oh, it's actually 28 when it's fully charged. And then this one tops out, as you can see, 54.1, and it's kind of idling right now. But well, both of them are kind of idling. I think that's 95%. That's 100 already. Remember, this 5 that I'm using is the 2 plus the 3 or the 2. So I'm using just a tad bit more. I'm bringing in about 430, and I'm using 515. So that would go about 21 hours at that rate. With this cool heater on that's heating up the whole room. I've got 2 heaters going, remember. Yeah, everything, guys. The dollies, guys, I highly recommend these dollies. These are Harbor Freight dollies. As you can see, we have 3 of them. We have one for the Oukitels, and we have one for the E1500 LFP, and one for the E2000 LFP. Guys, are $10 a piece when you get them on sale. They hold 1,000 pounds a piece, supposedly, but these systems are only about just under 200 pounds a piece. So very, very cheap way to keep your your system's off the ground. You don't want to put a battery on the ground, guys. A lot of people don't understand that batteries on the ground is not good for the batteries, especially on concrete. Do not set batteries on concrete, guys, unless it's a very, very temporary time, like you're swapping a battery. But concrete actually, you know, the earth like sucks electricity from batteries, and if you leave it on the concrete, your energy will literally seep into the earth. It's you know, our world is crazy that way when it comes to technology and electricity. But yeah, I don't know what really else to add other than holy cow, it's, you know, it's been going, oh, bad number, it's been going non-stop for more than a year on the record. You know, I put my system out there for the world to see, and yeah, if so, let's break it down. If I had to do it again, what system would I get? I would have to lean towards this one, guys. I think the technology and the cables and all the stuff you get with the app and everything, you can do firmware updates. You don't have to do the headache that some people had to do with this, to send it back and get a firmware update that costs $100 to send that back. I think I would lean towards this one, and only because of the cables, the no charging brick, the 30 amp output. I like that. That's three things. But then if I were to look at the other side, you know, the grass is always greener on the other side, they always said. Just this 6-pack of ports, I think, is a huge mistake that they made. Maybe they didn't have room, but I'd love to see 4, 5, or 6 ports over here on this system. Because I think, look at, I have 3 that are just waiting, guys. And this one's maxed out already, right? So there's nowhere to go. You have to get an extension cord. And anytime you add extension cord, you had problems. Or a power strip, you know, more cords, more problems, you know. But see, this one, look, it's 3, it's ready to go. You still have your 6, but the covers, I like the covers on this system over that one, obviously. These are the same for the most part. The dual charging, that brings me back to this system again, is where you have that dual input. I think that if this had 6 ports here and the dual charging, this would be the absolute 100% way to go because of the cables and everything. The 48-volt battery pack. This one started out at 110 voltage, but now this we updated it so it's a new. What you get is a 120-volt system. Otherwise, remember, this was only 110. This one comes out right away. Because of the size of the inverter, though, you do get, you know, up to 2,350 watts on that system. This one does get, because of the smaller inverter and more efficient inverter, you do get 90% and up on this system, and this one you get about 85% and up, and that's because of the app and the bigger inverter, and you know, it's on and on and on. There's so many things that are in this one. The automatic check-in of the system, that's in the background. Kind of like having a car radio on low in the background. It just, you know, you can't hear it, but it's still eating up electricity or power. Yeah, I don't really know what else to add, guys. The handles on both are fantastic. These are a little bit more beefy on the new system than these, but these obviously did their job well. I like how these batteries can lock together. These cannot. But as you see, you know, if you don't move them, the chances of this tipping over, slim and none. I literally cannot see a situation where either one of these would tip over. This is almost 200 pounds a piece, guys, and you'd really have to shove that to get that to tip over. And if you were in a situation where you had that much jolt on a system, that's the last thing you're worried about, is these tipping over, because I mean, that's earthquake stuff, you know. Maybe that's why they had the new system where it bolted together, you know, earthquake kind of proof. But they're so heavy, guys. They're 60 pounds of battery, 60, I think 63 or something like that, or about 60. It's so heavy. And then these are rubber, they're anti-slip, so the systems stay together very, very good. Even when I grab this and I drag this all around the room, sometimes this one will slide on the top because obviously it's smaller. But if you grab it by this handle here and you drag it around the room on either one of these, the system stays together totally fine, like no problems with that. All right, well, I guess I'm going to go back to work here, guys. And I just wanted to make sure that you guys had all the information. Like, we are literally, it feels like 24/7 that we're updating the YouTube channel thing. And just so we can get every single bit of information to help anybody and everybody out there with any of these. You know, we want to make sure that these are like I don't want to say reality TV, but you know, real-time reviews, guys. These, I do not make commercials. You know, I don't advertise for, you know, buy this or buy that. I don't care what you buy. You buy whatever you want. Just learn how to use them, and that way you can make the best decision. I think that is the most powerful tool in our marketing economic world, you know, because everything is buy this, it's the greatest thing since sliced bread, and buy this. Well, maybe that doesn't work for you. Maybe this one doesn't work for you. Maybe you need more ports like this. Maybe you need a smaller inverter. Maybe you need a bigger inverter. Maybe you need a tighter cable to fit in a situation. That's why we make so many videos, guys. We want to show every single aspect that we can possibly think of, right? And that way it'll help you with your decision on your solar journey, if you will. And I wish you the best with your solar journey, because ours has been absolutely awesome. We've had power go out twice in the last 2 months, I'm sorry, in the last year, and it lasted about 4 or 5 hours one time and about 2 or 3 or 4 hours one time. And we didn't even care. Like, the whole neighborhood was out of power. And here I'm sitting here with 20,000 plus watt hours of power. We didn't even care. I started handing these out to my family and neighbors here, and they were running their lights and laptops, and some of them had their internet, you know, the cable, and they were running cable, you know, because cable doesn't go out when the power goes out. The cable, you know, the power actually goes through the cable. It's separate. So if you can get your box on the cable on one of these bad boys, you can watch TV when the power's out and have hot chocolate and all kinds of good stuff. So I don't care which one you buy, guys, of any system. Make sure that you have something, just something, for a backup plan for you and your family, because I think that's the most important thing, is or an emergency. You know, your side of the road, you got to change a tire or something like that. Look at all the power you could store in one of these things. Holy crapzilla. All right, and we also, guys, we also thank you. We hit 1,000 subscribers. Can you believe it? 1,000 subscribers. This channel started almost on a whim. I just wanted to get some information out there to help people with that darn hidden menu. And look what it's grown into. It's grown into like a real thing. I'd love to do this for a living. To help people learn about this stuff, to help them make more educated decisions on what's good for them and what's bad for them. You know, that way they can make a good decision for you in your bank book and your pocketbook and your wallet and whatnot, and your purse and everything, because this stuff can break you real quick. Boy, oh boy, I mean, that's $20,000 of stuff sitting here, and you know, with all the panels and everything in the back and the solar outside, boy, that can really bankrupt somebody really quickly. So thank you, guys. Thank you for being part of the subscriber family. We really thank you for being a part of this. If you ever have any information on anything, guys, I don't care what it is, if you have any information that helps our community out, please leave a comment, and other people can find your comments and find your information. We obviously can't test everything of every system ever, because there's not enough time in life to do that. So that's where the subscriber family comes in. They'll say, well, I had the system and I ran it this way in this situation and it didn't work. And then we can use that information in our database, if you will. This channel is becoming a database to where people can, you know, go to it and say, well, I didn't know you couldn't do that. Now I'm not going to get that system. I'm going to get this one or that one or this. And that way you can make a better informed decision on what you want and what you need in solar power. Wow. Okay, guys, I'm going to leave it at that. Ramble on, be safe, and we'll definitely see you here again on Ramblin Bob Reviews. Thank you again, guys. Bye.